space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the YouTube show Tuesday Night Trek. Its mission, to catalog every piece of Star Trek media, to keep alive the spirit of Gene Roddenberry, to boldly go where no YouTube show has gone before.
Hello there and welcome. Oh, I just remembered I gotta change my background. Let me fix that. Hello everyone and welcome to, you know what? We'll go Orville Bridge this time in honor of Season 3 being released. Hello and welcome back to the Star Wars Guys YouTube channel, where the Force is family. I am Captain Paul. Welcome back to Tuesday Night Trek. I got a good collection of my bridge officers with me, and yeah, so far, since I did mention Season 3 of the Orville, Spock spoiler-free review real quick. How is it so far?
So far, it's turning out, just to give everybody the heads up, this is going to be a bit of a darker take, I'm assuming. According to Seth himself, he says horror is a fun thing to direct, and the first episode is a bit more, in terms of entertainment, it's a little bit more depressing, but it's got a lot of cool action moments. Nonetheless, it's turning out to be really good. It was like a breath of fresh air.
Good. Yeah, like I said, I am well behind on the Orville. I probably haven't even made it past the first. We were covering the Orville on this show at one point, but then we lost track of it, and I stopped watching it.
There's a lot of episodes we had to cover.
It was. But I'm at least going to get caught up on it. Hello, by the way, to Coffee on Korban. Thanks for joining.
No coffee.
But yeah, I'm going to get caught up, and hopefully by the time we get to the Season 3 finale, be able to see that live with you guys. So, real quick, who all is in chat? Phil McCracken, as always, spewing his nonsense. Hashtag justice for redheaded women. Hashtag justice for Grace Jones. Hashtag stop cash money magnets. Hashtag been busy tonight shopping for Amazon for a lighter. No, Phil. No. You do not burn any of your Star Wars stuff anymore. And here's one that confuses me. Hashtag STO elderly abuse.
Yeah,
Spock, how does Star Trek Online abuse the elderly?
Yes, it's a good question. What is going on?
I know what he's really talking about, and it's just jokes. You popped into the chat, Pacific. Phil McCracken is also saying hashtag Patrick Stewart is Snoke. I don't see it. Is because he's bald? Be honest, Phil. And hashtag why does Cash Money hate Red Sonja and Bridget Nelson? And he's put some other hashtags in there too. So yeah, that's a lot. So we're only covering, I told you guys already, but for those watching right now, we're only covering 3 episodes this week. Tonight in general is going to be a little bit shorter of a stream than usual for Tuesday Night Trek, mostly because I have to get up earlier than usual in the morning. So the 3 episodes we are covering are going to be called Data's Day, The Wounded, and Devil's Due. So as always, let's go ahead and go around the horn, and you guys give your thoughts on these 3 episodes, and I choose Spock to go first.
Okay, so Data's Day is a really down-to-earth episode. You get to see more of the relationship between Keiko and O'Brien, and you can see there's kind of a dysfunctionality, I guess you could say, more so for Keiko, but it is a nervous thing, to be getting married and just accepting that entire day is actually happening. That's kind of what the episode is about, and Data understanding that from an artificial human perspective, because he's not technically, as Paul has seen and the rest of us have seen throughout the season, he's sentient, he's like a person, but he's completely alien to emotion. So this is all just like a giant study for him, and he makes some funny mistakes in this episode. So it's a goofy one. The next one, The Wounded, it's a cool episode because we get to see an actor we're going to see very much later on in Deep Space Nine, who plays a Cardassian like we see in this one, and you're gonna notice that the detail of the Cardassians, they change. They start to look a little different. Not too much from this original design, but the hair is different, the skin color is a bit different, the armor is different.
Hello, Tim. Yes, Spock is on, dude.
Hail, Tim.
Dude,
It's good to
he's
see you,
been
buddy.
looking for you forever, man.
Yeah, we're gonna cover the Orville on Nerdporial's channel after episode 2 drops with Mike here.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's a good episode as well. The next one, sorry, the name again, I forget.
Devil's Due.
Devil's Due, which is also a really cool episode because we get to see a very small glimpse, but we get to see a bit of what my favorite part is, Klingon history and lore. So we get to see, I forget his name, the monster that appeared. Feklar. Yeah, which is an interesting species you'll get to see once you play STO as well.
I have already seen them playing the Klingon storyline.
Yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, that's one of the coolest parts. She basically is a really advanced person who has a lot of advanced technology and is able to manipulate the society into thinking she's a god.
Yes.
Which is a cool story. We get to see that take on the Orville as well. But this is and not just the Orville. Sorry, many other Star Trek episodes we get that same kind of premise. But it was a cool one nonetheless. But like I said, my favorite part, seeing Feklar. That makes it probably my favorite episode in this three chunk we got here.
Okay. And by the way, welcome, Baron. How you doing tonight?
Hail, Baron.
I'm doing fantastic. How about you guys?
Hey, Baron.
I'm doing well. Thank you, by the way, for finally getting the package in the mail today.
Oh.
I'm looking forward to getting it.
It was actually put in the mail yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah, so.
Oh, sweet. Then
I hope it gets here for the next show.
I'm hoping so too.
Resistance is futile.
Exactly. I concur.
Oh,
Welcome.
no, we have 2 Borgs now, Mike and the anime guy.
Welcome back, Brandon.
Hey everyone, good to see everybody tonight. Spock, Cash Money, Mike, Captain Fandom Nerd, hello Captain, and of course Baron. How are you doing, you bearded one?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Tell you what, Brandon,
Just helping around the house, so a little bit late, so.
Yeah, so tell you what, Brandon, you can go next. Your thoughts on these 3 episodes.
Oh, 3 episodes. Okay. Tots.
Who? Me?
Yep.
You!
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. So, okay. These 3 episodes, let's see, it's 11, 12, 13. Okay, Data's Day. Data's Day is a lot of fun. It really is. You get to see an unemotional being try and process emotions or an emotional time. You know, the helping a friend get married, all the things going back and forth with that. Great episode. It's a lot of fun, but all I'm going to say is this is where O'Brien Must Suffer started. And then it continues on with The Wounded, where O'Brien must suffer some more because his former captain, who he absolutely adores, is basically trying to stop the Cardassians, but in doing so causes Starfleet and everybody else consternation, even though he's absolutely right.
Didn't you and Nerdporial talk about this Sunday? You made a top 5 O'Brien Must Suffer episodes?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, once you get into DS9, you'll see why he must suffer and why he suffers greatly. But the one that I picked for number 1 is definitely not, probably nobody else would even think of as far as it goes. So definitely check that out to see for sure what it is. And then
Okay.
Devil's Due. You have basically an argument of theism versus atheism, and it's okay, but yeah, not my favorite, but it's there.
Okay, fair enough. Cash, you can go next. Your thoughts on these episodes?
Well, my favorite episode out of this block of 3 is The Wounded. Yeah, freaking
Mine too.
Brandon took all of what I was going to say. I'm kidding, but it's just you feel bad for the man, but as he pointed out, he was right. But the way he went about it is probably not the best way. And like once again, as Brandon pointed out, O'Brien suffers, which stinks, but you can understand why. Data's Day, Crit and I watched that, and there's some situations I like, but it's just I don't know. I didn't really care too much about the wedding. It was still a pretty good episode, and then Devil's Due made me feel like I was in Bedazzled to some extent. But if you guys ever watched that movie Bedazzled, Brendan
I got the
Fraser,
reference.
but it was okay. You kind of just want to throw that woman out of the airlock because she's just playing games, with as a Romulan playing games again. So it's just Picard's like, no, we're not going to have this. So it was an okay episode. Wounded was still my favorite. Data's Day was still pretty good. I like when Data is figuring out issues of the crew and what's going on. So yeah,
Okay.
pretty good.
All right. Pacific, your thoughts?
My thoughts. Well, Data's Day, it's a good Data episode in the fact that he gets to explore a little bit more about, weddings and different situations that come up. But of course, you always like an episode that features Miles O'Brien. Called Meaning. How could you not? And also the little twist at the end, very interesting. Now, The Wounded, I will admit right here, right now, The Wounded is my favorite of this block of 3. Simply because it deals with a captain who can't accept the fact that there is no more war. And, Mark Alimo, oh, you're going to love him when you see him in DS9. He is to Cardassians as Leonard Nimoy is to Vulcans and Armin Shimmerman is to Ferengi.
Okay.
And Devil's Due, it's never been one of my favorite episodes. It's been one of my least favorite episodes of season 4 for quite some time. I'd rather throw it out the airlock.
Really?
Yeah. I don't care for the episode.
Okay.
Yeah, at the very least for me, it's a one and done. It's not Wesley Crusher out the airlock worthy, but it does have
we're done with him for a while.
Some cringe to it. Yeah, yeah. How many times did he end up being the boy genius, the boy wonder, and
14.
Save 14
So far.
Oh, so far that's right. So far.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's more coming.
I believe it. Captain Fandom Nerd, you can go next. What's your thoughts overall on these 3 episodes?
All right. Well, let's see here. With Data's Day, you are introduced to the fact that the dancing doctor teaching Data to dance, and of course he's not mentioning it's for the wedding, so totally teaching a different style of dance. But I like the episode overall. I do. The Wounded. Wow. Exciting episode. You get a lot more insight into O'Brien. You get a basic introduction to the Cardassians, which of course do change over time, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly the headgear. But it's really a good, solid episode. Devil's Due, I usually skip it. I just, it's like watching, I don't know. You can only see it so many times. There's certain episodes of Star Trek I could watch over and over again and get something new out of every time. This one, I've tried. I thought, okay, maybe there's something I haven't seen before, and I'm watching it. I'm going, no, there isn't anything new to get out of it.
Okay.
So
It's like
here for it.
it's like a joke I heard a long time ago. It's like having television on honeymoon. Unnecessary.
That's a good one. Yes, Baron.
I needed one.
Really? I was gonna say, does the ever-suffering Mrs. Tag know that?
That might be a problem.
She wasn't with.
Nah.
Were you trying to make sure that she was in frame or what?
Oh, no.
Real quick, hello,
yes.
hello, and good night to Phil McCracken. I hope you get enough rest.
Yeah, get enough sleep, man.
Yes, and Mike, I did get the clip. It is queued up. All right, Baron, your thoughts on these 3 episodes?
Woo! 3 episodes. This is an interesting little mishmash of episodes. Overall, the concept of Data's Day, or Data's Day, I should say, is a good one. This is one of the episodes where I sit back and laugh my keister off when people sit back and say Star Trek is such a superior science fiction show. Because, I don't know, we can talk about it later on when it goes in there, but this is all supposed to be happening in one day, and they're halfway virtually traveling across the universe in the episode. And it's like, oh, come on. It would be better if it was like Data's week, or if you did treat it as a complete total day. But the concept is great. I mean, seeing the world through Data's eyes and what he is. No, he has now become our eyes. Now we're trying to get a little bit more understanding. It gives Brent Spiner a little bit more to explore the character himself, who's an excellent actor. Excellent actor.
Absolutely.
Now, as it goes, and there's a few other little things. I'm not going to get too heavily into it because I'm sure we'll get more details as we go along. The Wounded. You're all wrong. No, I'm just kidding. When it comes around to The Wounded, yeah, this is the best one out of all 3 of these episodes. This one really does take a look at the people who are went through war, the old soldiers. Where do your loyalties lie to your old commander, your new commander, Starfleet? We see a former commander, of course, of O'Brien. You can see why he is incredibly loyal to the man, and that there's a strong connection with it. And what he went through with the Cardassian War obviously was hell. And you can tell that without even getting into deep nuances. And of course, you got them singing The Minstrel Boy. I mean, how wonderful hearing The Minstrel Boy. Miles O'Brien is meant to suffer because he's Irish. That's the big reason why he's Irish. That's why he's always suffering. But also the fact he's a great actor. Call me on that one. And when it comes around on Data's Day, it is a laughable episode. This is actually one of the episodes that was rehashed from plans and ideas for the Star Trek Phase 2 series in the 70s that they're almost trying to copy off of the 60s Star Trek. And it didn't mesh. It really, you can tell this is a clunker because it doesn't fully mesh into the next generation. It kind of like the illegitimate child between the 2 generations type thing, which of course you could call Phase 2 on the whole thing. And what they could have had for an intriguing argument about deism and atheism and the power of messiahs and anti-messiahs and the like. Let's put it this way: Frank Herbert is laughing his ass off at this. I'm sorry. Well, actually, no. We determined that is a good word to say because it is in the Bible. Remember, we talked about that. The John
that only applies if you're referring to the animal.
For that, these.
Oh wait, wrong clip. Wrong clip.
Here, Baron. Let me.
Language, and for gosh sake, watch your language.
Here, Baron. Let me do this for you.
I need your beeper. I need Brandon the beeper. And but I mean, this is something where obviously even the old Star Trek and others have a lot deeper look into it and approach of it. This is a joke episode, just like Captain Trek or Captain Phantom Nerd said and the others. It can one and done virtually with this episode.
Yes.
This is an episode that feels like it belongs in season 1, where they're trying to figure things out, as opposed to season 4, where they have the pattern set down from season 3 on up as far as how they're supposed to be doing things. So,
and really, And at this phase, they don't need to be grabbing concepts that they had for Star Trek Phase 2, like they were needing for Season 2 when they're having the writers' issues. They didn't, at this phase of the game, it's like, okay, you're beyond this now. You don't need to start scrapping for the old stuff. Let's go forward. And this is one of the relics. I think this is the last relic we have from that. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So my thoughts.
Oh, we lost him.
Oh
Captain Paul
no!
down. Captain Paul down.
Who did we lose?
All hands abandon ship.
We lost Paul.
All hands abandon ship.
His
Paul?
internet
Who's
went
Paul?
kerpoof.
Who's
We
Paul?
lost Paul.
Who's
Well,
Paul?
Brandon, you're the senior officer here. You need to take a minute.
I promise
He
that,
has-
that was not any sort of joke. That was not planned. All right, so let me explain what happened with that. Brandon was telling me earlier about a program he was using. It's the thing that gave him his bleep sound as well as other voice effects called Voice Mod. And I decided to go ahead and install it. And apparently booting it up for the first time somehow disconnected my mic, which StreamYard doesn't like.
Yep.
And
Mm.
yeah, so
Yeah, it changes your back-end system settings as far as how things get routed. So yeah,
Yeah,
I would
that's
suggest
what that
monkeying with
was.
it later.
that's what that was. All right,
Yeah,
so
that's
anyways,
something I learned because I've been using it for a while, but I've only used it in 2 streams so far.
Yeah,
Here I was trying to
you
do
can
that.
you can
Remember
tell
me
a
bit.
difference. Yeah. Well, as I said, if I can turn it off, and as I said, you can tell the difference. So this is with it on. This is what I sound like with it off.
which is way quieter and more muted.
Yeah.
Yeah, the voice mod, this particular one that I've got, it does the trick. It makes me, at least in my ears, when I go back and listen to something, I sound like how I think I sound like, which is very hard to replicate.
Right.
So, onwards and upwards with Star Trek.
Absolutely. So, what I was saying before I accidentally interrupted myself, my thoughts on these episodes, I agree that, at least for me, I think The Wounded is probably episode of the week. Data's Day
Yeah.
is a extremely close second. And Devil's Due, like I said, I went into that one because of the subject matter involved with this episode. I went into this one expecting to throw it out the airlock. Having now seen it, I'm not saying throw it out the airlock because at least the court stuff is interesting enough and the way it's proven. But yeah, here, I'll put it to you this way. Forget what does God need with a starship. What does Ardra need with a planet? And I'm going to call
Exploitation.
and I'm going to call her Ardra instead of what she really is. And I mentioned it, so I have to play the clip for myself.
Excuse me, I'd just like to ask a question. What does God need with a starship? I said, what does God need with a starship?
Jim, what are you doing? I'm asking you a question.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into these episodes individually, starting with Data's Day. Now, this whole day, or more than a day, as you've mentioned, Baron, is being narrated in a personal log being created by Data as a letter to Commander Maddox, which, if memory serves correctly, he was the one that was trying to make the case that Data is property of Starfleet way back in Measure of a Man, correct?
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay. And in the end of that episode, by the way, Maddox gains more of a respect for Data as a sentient being instead of a piece of technology. And after that, Data is more willing to help him continue the research of Dr. Soong. So this whole day is basically him writing down his experiences and how he views each member of the main cast in reference, basically addressing this to Lieutenant Maddox as sort of like an update, you could say, of how he's progressed into learning about humanity. So we see Data going through the different parts of his job where he's covering the bridge during night watch. He is interacting with a woman named Keiko, which is this has to be the first time we've seen her, right?
Yep.
Yes.
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 Okay. And how apparently she is the daughter of Data. How does that work?
He's the one giving her away. Basically, she doesn't have her dad's dead. So in custom and
Oh.
tradition, she asked Data as her friend to give her away at her wedding. And actually, just real quick, do you now know what this means?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I am fully functional in every way, Commander Yar. Not the exact quote or rank, but you get it.
The idea.
The idea, yes.
Okay.
So, Data is talking with Keiko, and Keiko is all flustered about the wedding. And like she's getting bad cold feet. So she tells Data, "I want to call off the wedding." And Data, of course, is confused. Why? You were looking forward to this. And then, she tries to justify it as pretty much anyone with cold feet would, saying, "Trust me, I know what I'm doing. I think this is for the best. O'Brien will probably," she says, quote, "I feel like this great weight has been pressing on me ever since the wedding was announced. And the only way to release that weight is by calling off the wedding." And she also says, quote, "O'Brien will likely be relieved also," which Data, of course, misinterprets as being a good thing. So he goes to see O'Brien in 10 Forward, which, by the way, is being converted into the wedding venue. And he says, quote, "Chief O'Brien, I have good news for you. Keiko has called off the wedding." And of course, O'Brien flips his lid. He's like, "Of all the immature, harebrained, fill in the blank." And Jordy's there, and he's like, "Next time, Data, just let me handle giving the good news." That whole setup and payoff just let me know that this was going to be an amazing episode right there.
Yeah, it is a good one.
Yes. So what did you guys think of all of that when you saw it?
I laughed at O'Brien's reaction.
Data was so confident though, and going in there, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to tell O'Brien the good news." Oh,
Yes.
He's just so confused.
And just so we're clear, Brandon, this moment is what you mean by being the start of O'Brien must suffer, correct?
Yes, he going forward and in TNG and then eventually into DS9, you see just how combative and in some ways you could probably say even unmarried coupled like, unwife like Keiko is towards him in a lot of respects. Now, being in the future, how things work, it works for them. The writers don't make them do anything drastic, but you can see how Miles could get rather tired of her bull. You can see it, and this is the very start of it. The undecisiveness of Keiko. There's another old saying that I was told with regard to Asian women. Now I'm gonna paraphrase this by saying not all, but those that I know who have married Asian women or dated Asian women will attest to this. Asian women are probably the best to date because they're fun. Let's just put it at that. But as a wife, they become the abject shrew and bane of your existence.
I see.
At least that's what I've heard. I don't know. I've never dated or married an Asian woman, so.
Okay.
Liar. No, I'm just
So that is a good point to point out that this is the start of O'Brien Must Suffer, but I would argue there was a moment much earlier in Tuesday Night Trek where that would start. Remember the episode that had the humans from another planet that were basically old-fashioned Irish people that O'Brien happened to be the one transporting aboard, and he had to sit there looking like, oh my God, is that actually my heritage?
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
That's a bit of a stretch, but you know what? I'll allow it. Why not? He gets to take a look in his past like, holy crap, man, what did I just witness?
Yeah.
Come on, Paul. You can do it.
Do what?
He said the C word. He said the C word.
Crap's okay. I say it.
Crap is okay? Okay, I'll say crap then.
Okay. If you have a question on a certain word, just ask me and I'll tell you.
or you could just do this. Holy
I need that.
Voice mod, brother.
Just don't download it while you're streaming. It will disconnect you. I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
So, so while this is going on, Data is continuing to do his duties, narrate his personal log for Commander Maddox, and he's also there's basically the B story here is that the Enterprise is taking aboard a Vulcan ambassador named Ambassador T'Pel, which Pacific actually sent me a very interesting clip for. Have a look at this.
So you're the mole, mole.
Okay, I wasn't expecting all of that. But yeah, I mean, foreshadowing, of course. So
well, I had to extend it a little bit.
Okay, I'll take it. So, anyways, Ambassador T'Pel is getting escorted to the neutral zone to meet with the Romulans to attempt to negotiate peace between the Federation and the Romulan Empire. We'll see how that turns out. And during all of this, Data does have some interactions with T'Pel, including a rather questionable one where T'Pel wants to know some pretty classified information about the ship's defense capabilities. And I like what Data says after this in his letter to Commander Maddox. He says, being that T'Pel is a Vulcan, she's incapable of lying, yet I still wish I had that gut feeling. So putting aside how this episode ends, the fact that Data wants as he calls it, a gut feeling, intuition. What did you guys think about all of that?
It's part of his quest to become more human.
I think he already had one for asking the question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because he asked the question, but he didn't act on it.
He asked the question, but he had no reason to believe to act on it because he had no proof. Either way.
That's where the lack of the human element or the gut feeling comes into play. So yeah, that makes sense.
It's there, but he doesn't know how to act on it. Or is this what it really is? Or what is this? Why am I getting these bad vibes? I have no reason to doubt this is a Vulcan. I mean, if they had wires inside them, they'd be just like me. So, I mean, he's perplexed. He's learning. It's part of growing.
Right. Which, just as a side note, Spock, I believe you mentioned once, way back when we were... No. This was, I think it was either you, Brandon, or Nerdporio, way back when it was just the three of us, and we were talking about TOS. We were talking about the menagerie, and I believe that's where we were first discussing that Vulcans can't lie. But who was it that mentioned at some point later on in the franchise that gets retconned out? Because
I
I
think
feel
that
like I
was-
heard that somewhere.
Maybe
That was
Brian.
probably the Admiral,
Yeah, I think it
most
was Brian.
likely. But
Mhm.
with Spock, in the movie, the second movie, he what's her face calls him out. Christy Alley's. Oh, why can't I remember her character? Christy Alley's character's name.
Savick.
Yeah, Savick. Savick calls him out, and says, "You lied," and gives him the most perplexed look. And he said, "I exaggerated." So obviously Vulcans can, but they have to do the mental gymnastics to justify it. In those cases, yeah, he did that.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's
yeah.
skip a couple of seasons ahead in TOS to episode 3, the Enterprise incident. Obviously, he had to lie in there because he killed Captain Kirk.
Killed.
Mhm.
Yeah, to put on the show necessary to make the whole plan work. Yeah, he had to stretch the truth. As he would put it, he exaggerated.
Yeah, well, this is Star Trek's version of from a certain point of view.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that. All right, fair enough. So while all of that's going on, Data is also talking about how he views each member of the main cast. Saying, for example, how he feels that he and Worf are in a sense kindred spirits because the two of them were both adopted by humans of the Federation. And we see a nice, innocent interaction between him and Worf where they're trying to figure out a good wedding gift to give O'Brien and Keiko. And we see another interaction, of course, with him and Geordi. Geordi, he says in his letter that he considers Geordi his best friend. We see him talk about how Counselor Troy is probably the one person he connects with the least, and likely Counselor Troy feels the same way about him, given that she has dedicated so much of her life and her profession on her ability to sense people's emotions, which we saw the full scale of that last week.
Yeah.
So just getting into a side tangent with that. Who here was not here last week to talk about that episode?
I wasn't here.
I wasn't here.
Yeah,
Physically,
I wasn't
I
here
was.
either.
I wasn't here mentally, but I was here physically.
So
All right,
which
Loss.
episode?
The Loss.
The Lost.
The one where
The Loss.
Troy loses her powers.
Deanna's headache. Yeah.
Yes.
Weakest.
That's
one
what
for
she
me.
tells Riker all the time. "Oh, this damn headache. I'm sorry, I can't do anything."
Excuse me,
Language! And for gosh sake, watch your language.
Yeah, I forgot to myself. Yeah. That's one episode that I skip. I can't do it.
Yeah. I at least enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, because I can't help it. I like Troy. And that was a
Well, we have the special nickname for her, so
yes, we do.
yep,
And that
Counselor
is-
Toe.
Oh,
Yep.
I'm sorry. What about Counselor Breasticles?
Yeah, that too.
So, Spock, your thoughts on the Lost, by the way.
Very short.
the
Probably
Lost
the
or
weakest. The Lost.
Lost.
okay.
Probably. I like Troy too. But I don't really see her for much interesting qualities without her abilities, honestly. Other than maybe her relationship with Riker, which I don't know. This kind of was a dry one for me.
I'll say this like I said it last week. I unironically liked this episode because I think that this is so far the best acting we've gotten in this show out of Marina Sirtis.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Boy, that's a pretty low bar.
And Cash, your thoughts on it?
I mean, it's just Deanna's headache. It's just she's screaming, she's yelling at people, she tells people I don't understand. I just was pretty bored of this episode. I watched it just today because I wanted to catch up, but I didn't like it too much. I like Deanna Troi, but this episode was just pretty annoying to me.
Yeah.
It's like these people do understand. Riker does understand. Oh, I've lost my powers. It's like, well, you're certainly going about it the wrong way, in my
By the
opinion.
way, everyone, I'm not saying this out loud, but everyone look in private chat.
No, kind of maybe.
Really?
Wow.
Really?
You really went there.
You went there.
I'm not going to answer that.
No, I'm not going to answer that either.
I'm going to say when the bigger question is, when isn't it?
Fair enough.
Zing!
Shots fired.
I got a clip for that. Where is it? Here it is.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Yeah, Brick killed a guy. Yeah, I love that scene.
I love that movie.
All right.
I like I said, she's great eye candy. That's all I care about.
Fair enough. All right. Getting back on topic though, with Data's day. Data's talking about how he connects with Troy the least because of his inability to feel emotions. Meanwhile, while the narration is going on, Data is meeting with Troy, trying to figure out, what's going on here. Why can't I've tried to understand marriage. I've read all this stuff on it. What am I missing here? And basically her advice boils down to, look, if you really want to help O'Brien and Keiko, just leave them alone. Because there is a scene before this where Data tries to confront Keiko about, you may not be thinking about this the right way, but she just doesn't want to hear it. She gets all emotional. He's like, Data, leave me alone. The typical girl response. We also, by the way, and I was not expecting this, get a scene of Crusher teaching Data how to tap dance. And it was completely ridiculous, but in all of the best ways to me. It was just something to laugh at, it essentially, to me. What do you?
It was a lighthearted moment.
It was.
I agree.
And then it's paid off. And then it's paid off at the end. Be like, but wait a minute, we don't tap dance at weddings. Let me teach you an actual wedding dance.
Anything to see Crutcher jump around and hop around. That's all I care about. You might like Troy, but I go for Crusher.
I'm going to start calling you Crit Junior here.
Fair enough.
Well, between the two, I would have to agree. I'm Team Doctor as opposed to Team Toe.
Understandable, and trust me, I could. You know what? I'll highlight an earlier comment from Phil. # justice for redheaded women.
Yep.
Yeah, and she's not even redheaded. That's the funny part.
I know. So, and again, he also, during his interactions in the episode with Crusher, the narration he's giving talks about how he never really needs Crusher's services, but he still, can depend on her if needed. He mentions Riker's sense of humor, and he also mentions how Picard is never one to back down. Meanwhile, with the B story, they make it to the neutral zone. They meet up with you guys are going to have to help me with his name, Admiral Mendak, something like that.
Admiral Romulan, you'll never see again.
Pretty much.
Basically.
We'll just
You
call
only
him
see him in this episode, and that's it.
We'll just call him the Romulan Admiral.
We'll call him not Tomalak.
Yeah, not Tomalak.
yeah, not Tomalak is right.
No. He's Dollar Store Tomalak.
There we go.
Dollar Store Tomalak.
No,
Tomalak can get off a Wish.
Wish.
I wouldn't say wish.com to Tomalak.
Close
He
enough.
felt threatening enough.
Oh yeah.
He had that cool, calm collectiveness, a little more steely-eyed than Tomalak. Tomalak can get worked up. This guy didn't. He was cold as ice.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which is actually pretty good for a Romulan, because you have to remember that the Romulans are an offshoot of the Vulcans, even though they didn't necessarily go the way of Surak. There's still a little bit of that. What would you say?
The
Heightened
logical side.
intelligence.
Yeah, I mean they're based off Romans, so I mean just think about Romans in space without the tokens.
And we're not talking about bread and circuses either.
No.
We're not talking about Animal House.
No.
Toga. I love that movie. That's one that would never
Classic.
get made today.
It's a classic, dude.
So continuing on, T'Pel is supposed to get transported aboard their ship. She does this against, of course, the wishes of everyone on the bridge, but of course she's an ambassador. They can't stop her. So they go, and O'Brien is the one at the controls, but her molecular pattern starts to break down mid-transport, and she ends up dying. And I did the quotation marks on purpose. They investigate this and find out that the DNA that was found left over from when her molecules broke down in the transporter incident didn't exactly match those from when she was beamed aboard. Come to find out, T'Pel isn't a Vulcan. She's actually a Romulan. And she was actually working with this admiral testing. You know what? I'm still not sure about that. Why was she even there?
Espionage and intelligence gathering.
Yep. So again, I play the clip again. She effectively was.
So you're the mole. Mole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she fooled everybody.
Oh yes.
Right. I mean, this was something that was breached before. Actually, it's more in the graphic novel. One of the graphic novels they have for Star Trek, where they had a Romulan pass themselves off as a Romulan. And of course, we'd see it again in a imitation Star Trek show that would come up later.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the few times yeah. It's one of the few times that you actually see Starfleet, and for that matter, the crew of the Enterprise, take a massive L. Massive L.
Mm-hmm.
And they were pretty much powerless to do anything about it, because when they decide to go back after they realize what had happened to confront them and to see what's going on, they get more or less surrounded, and
and they're told, go away or we will shoot you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, take the L, Captain. Take the L.
So
which is the same thing that Mexican Iron Man told me.
How did you lose to him? How? Never mind. You'll get your revenge. It'll be the revenge of the Sith. The revenge of Sith Paul.
What's Sith Paul?
You. The Sith Paul.
I was never a Sith. We don't mention that.
Is it the same as we don't talk about Bruno?
I've never seen that movie.
Well, you're lucky.
Yeah.
Bruno wasn't bad.
So anyways, the episode basically caps off, at least with the main story, where Data writes to Maddox saying, because of all of these experiences, I recognize that I have more to learn about being human, but I'm further along on my journey than when I started. Would you guys say that's a good summation?
Yeah.
Yeah, he learns.
Yeah, I mean, we started to learn that like we were talking about before. It started like, okay, something's not quite right, but I just didn't know how to work on it. But he's starting to get that. We're starting to read a little bit that something's not quite right here. But now he's got to start to learn how to act upon.
Yeah. So all of that being said, Brandon, you can go first. What would you rank this out of 5?
Oh, let's see. If we're doing it on a 5-point system, I would give it a solid 4. It is a fun episode. You do have to stretch the mind a little bit with assuming that it takes place in just a single 24-hour time frame, which the episode implies. But I do prefer to think of it more as this happened over the course of a week. That makes more logical sense.
Yes.
But even with that inconsistency, it's a really good data-centric episode, and it did give Brent Spiner the ability to really stretch his acting muscles and to show what he can do. And the episode has heart. And in the end, O'Brien must suffer, and suffer he does.
Hello, by the way, to Green Lantern, who says, "Hail the Star Wars guys, #justice for Picard."
No. Picard should have died. They should have, had they done what they were thinking. Now, Captain, you probably are more familiar with this, but from what I remember and from reading in the Star Trek 365 Omnibus, this was a transitionary period going from season 3 to season 4. They didn't know who was going to be in the writing room. So when they wrote the Best of Both Worlds Part 1, it was set up to literally allow for anything. And as I said, in my opinion, what they chose to save him was the wrong choice.
By the way, Green Lantern clarifies. I think he's intending this for Phil.
Oh.
But I see your points, Brandon, and I can certainly see a case where, or I could certainly see a scenario where Picard does indeed not survive the Borg encounter and becoming Locutus, and thus Riker takes full command of the Enterprise for the rest of the show. And unlike Crit, no offense, Crit, if you're listening, I don't think it would just end up being the Kirk show all over again, because even though, yes, Riker is very similar to Kirk in some aspects, he's different in others. And I think he would put his own spin on the captain's chair.
Yeah.
But anyways,
just wait till season 7.
I'm looking forward to it. But anyways, back to this episode and the rankings. You say 4 out of 5. Spock, your ranking.
Oh, my mic was not unmuting. For probably a 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Captain Fandom Nerd, what would you give this out of 5?
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mike?
3 out of 5.
Okay. Cash?
3 out of 5.
Baron?
3.5 out of 5, because we get to see Crusher dance around a little bit.
Okay. I'm going 4 out of 5 on this one. It's a good, solid, just it's a feel good episode. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
That escalated quickly there, Paul.
Yeah, a 3 and 3 split with Baron being
because you had
in
the
between.
highest rating. You had the highest rating, so it escalated, man.
Yeah, there you go,
Cat. Boom.
But again, like we were saying back before, it gave the crew something we never see: a loss, a L. With that entire situation. So it was nice to see that turnaround in there. It was nice to see Data growing and learning a little bit there, and the fact that what it's all about. The silliness, of course, is they did intend this to be in one day. It's like, come on, people. There should have been Data's week and going through a progress of a week instead of 8 days. Now, a little backside. Now, Keiko, I don't know if people know this. She's more known for even a bigger wedding than Miles O'Brien, by the way.
Really? Same character?
No, not the same character. Actress, Rosalind Chow. She played Klinger's wife in MASH and in Aftermath.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
I knew about MASH. That's right.
You lost me when you mentioned MASH.
At the very end of MASH, like the last season, Klinger met up with a Korean girl, and then they got married. And then you had the After MASH series where they're still married in the United States at the VA hospital that Potter and Father Mulcahy is at. So,
now wait a second, Baron. After MASH doesn't exist. That was just no. Only MASH, not After MASH.
All right. So let's get in now into the next episode called The Wounded. So the Enterprise, the whole story of this one is this is an important episode, not just for the next generation, but for all of Star Trek, because we are once again introduced to a brand new species that will be sticking around with us for many episodes to come, both in this show and in Deep Space Nine. We are introduced to the Cardassians. And tell me again who the name of the actor is.
Mark Alimo.
Mark Alimo.
Yes.
He played
so good.
he played basically the main captain of these 3 Cardassians, right?
The main goal. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Now I'm pulling up a quick picture.
He's got a lot of goal.
On a bump.
You can beat me.
This character I'm about to show on screen, this is the same actor, right? Hold on.
Well, let's see.
It's freezing on me.
Oh, gotta love that.
There it went.
There we go.
That's
Yeah.
also him, ain't it?
Nope. That's
No,
Kirk.
no.
That's
thought
One
Robinson
to the
Garrett.
left. Yeah, click on the one to the left.
This one.
Nope, that's the right.
Oh, the other way.
This one.
Yes,
One- yeah.
that in the forefront is Mark Alamo. That's him as Gul Dukat. Now, if you look at his first one here, he has the mustache with the chops and wearing a headgear, and they look they look weird in comparison to how they look in DS9.
Yeah.
They got rid of that headgear and all that. Now, also got to remember, he also played the first Romulans in the Next Generation as well.
That he did.
That's what he looks like, by the way, in this episode. And yes, I vastly prefer this over this.
Yep.
And that's their
And a little
headgear, by
spoiler,
the
you're
way.
gonna love him as Dukat.
Yes, deliciously evil.
Mm-hmm. And that almost looks like bondage headgear.
Yeah, like what were they thinking when they made this? It looks like something out of Stephen King. Like the guy that has, I've never seen anything Stephen King, but I've seen this thing of the guy that has blue skin, he looks creepy, and he has things like nails poking out of his head.
Hellraiser.
Hellraiser, yeah.
That's what that looks like to me.
Yeah.
All right, so the Enterprise is responding to an incident where another starship, the Phoenix, has attacked a research station in Cardassian space, and they make big mention of the fact that the Federation and the Cardassians used to be enemies, but now they're at peace. And you could almost say that they're on an even shakier peace than the Federation and the Klingons, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, because it's a more recent piece. Yeah.
Right. Like the Klingons and the Federation at this point are almost like ride or die. Like there's an episode, I think this is in season 3, where the Enterprise, I forget what the situation is, but they're going up against a Romulan warbird, and suddenly they call in the Klingons, and now they're surrounding them.
Called in a favor from what's his name? Gowron.
Yes. And they also mentioned, by the way, at the Battle of Wolf 359 that Klingons were involved in that too.
Although we never see it.
True.
Yeah.
So anyway,
interesting.
Yeah, well, the Klingons and the Federation have a much more stronger alliance in this. you might say that you have more of a Cold War with the Romulans, and this is kind of in between that because you did have the
Yeah.
hot war. You are now in a little bit of a Cold War again with these guys, but again, like you said, the situation happened a lot sooner in that time. These are almost like the new next generation Klingons.
Yeah.
There you go.
ActionCom says one other thing to remember. This is shortly after the damage the Federation received from the Borg cube. They can't afford a war right now, which is exactly what the admiral of the episode, I forget what his name is, mentions to Picard. He like leans into the screen. He's like, "Listen, Picard, we can't afford another war. You need to handle this."
Yeah. Yeah, handle this with utmost leeway, let the Cardassians basically slide.
Yes. So what happens is eventually the Enterprise catches up to a Cardassian ship, and they have a brief exchange of fire before they manage to get them calmed down enough to talk and be willing to come aboard the Enterprise, which they happen. And we see 3 Cardassians come aboard. Again, I can't remember what their names are, but we have the captain and his 2 aides. We'll just
They're
call
Curly
them.
Mo.
Yes, we'll call them that for the sake of this episode. It's also worth noting that the captain of the Phoenix, the ship that is attacking these Cardassian outposts, is Captain Maxwell, who Chief O'Brien used to serve under. So again, as you mentioned, Brandon, O'Brien must suffer because now he's watching someone he looked up to basically go mad. In fact,
and the actor who plays Captain Maxwell was also in Shawshank Redemption as the warden.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff over the years.
Wasn't he also in The Matrix as Tom Anderson's boss that we see? You have a problem with authority, Mr. Anderson. You think the rules don't apply to you. You're obviously mistaken. That guy?
I don't think so. Let's see.
I
Bob
don't.
Gunton. Let me see what he's been in. Known for Shawshank, for Daredevil, Mountaintop, 24. What else?
Right. Yes, he was. Yeah.
Let's see here. He was in an episode of Family Guy.
That's true.
Let's go to the movies and see. Oh, let's see here. Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls.
High point right there.
Yeah, he's done tons of stuff over the years. Just
oh, hey.
He played
ActionCom says he was in Ghostbusters Afterlife. He played Egon.
Actually,
Wow.
that was Ivan Reitman who stood in.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was going to say. He was the ghost farmer. Well, yeah, he was in Afterlife. Interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. So, O'Brien.
Oh, okay. Now I see. I see the picture. Yeah, they dressed him up as Egon Spengler, and they used him for the out shots, or the shots where you really don't see his face, just more of the outline. So that makes sense. That works.
Beginning.
All right.
Okay. So this episode, pretty much as a whole, you could almost call this an O'Brien-centric episode, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could.
Because not only are we dealing with O'Brien, reliving what it was like to serve under Captain Maxwell, we also get basically a follow-up to the wedding that we saw in the last episode between O'Brien and Keiko, where we see the two of them having apprehensions about the other's cooking and the dishes that they grew up with. For example, Keiko is making traditional, you could almost say vegan Asian food, which O'Brien is kind of getting sick of. And meanwhile, O'Brien makes traditional Irish food for Keiko, and she has to get used to that. But ActionCom real quick says, do I know the song in the episode? I do not. That was the first time I'd heard it.
minstrel boy to the war has gone. In the ranks of death you'll find him. His father's sword he has girded on, his wild harp slung behind him. And it goes on.
Keep going. Keep going.
That's the most I remember it.
Okay, fair enough.
Not
But
bad,
still, that
dude.
was
Not
good.
bad. Yeah.
So, DJ Raji, yep, we've already said it. O'Brien must suffer.
Mm-hmm.
He must suffer Keiko's cooking.
Well, you know, and the thing that we're seeing here is something they should have done a lot sooner in Star Trek Next Generation. You have a ship that's supposed to have families. We're in the 4th season, and now we're finally seeing a character married and having a family domestic life. We should have seen that at least by season 2. And seeing what was going on in there, why it took this long, I don't know why. But now we're actually seeing something that should have been done, that they were planning, or they said they were planning on doing with Star Trek Next Generation.
I could see that.
Sean Connery would do a lot better than me, or even them.
I think maybe the reason it's taken this long for that to happen is because they wanted to make sure that they were free of what was left of Gene Roddenberry's influence by this point. Because by season 4, Gene Roddenberry was well and truly out of the picture, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was not in the full faculty, you might say.
Oh,
sadly,
really?
Well, he was suffering strokes.
Oh, wow.
And he was at this time wheelchair bound, and his mental capacity wasn't fully there because of the strokes that he was suffering and all that. So, and all the other abuses that he put himself through life with drugs and all that fun stuff. He was not sharp of mind at this time. Sadly,
he was very unhealthy there at the end. Yeah, it took its toll. It really did.
Okay. That is unfortunate to know, because I thought it was just one of those things of he passed away peacefully in old age.
It was sadly, it was a slow decline. Actually, it was kind of a fast decline. So, I mean, we're in the 4th season, Next Generation. You see what he was in the 1st season, and then by this time, it's you can just say he was a shadow of the man.
This is random. He kept trying to push an episode where the Enterprise saves President Kennedy.
Oh yeah, he was even trying to push that for one of the movies. Go back in time and try to say it was the big thing back then. Back then, the JFK situation, going through the 80s, it was like every November 22nd. It was constant JFK. Camelot was still alive. These people grew up, or not necessarily grew up, but they were around with Camelot. He was such a charismatic figure, President Kennedy, and it for this generation, because and it's no offense to these newer generations, they don't understand what Kennedy was. So it's like, why would you want to save Kennedy? Well, someone like Roddenberry, and they even played around with it in Quantum Leap and other shows. Kennedy was was almost a spectrum of political godhood out there.
Pretty much.
He was King Arthur. He was King Arthur of the Round Table of the White House.
ActionCom says it's a sign you've run out of ideas. If you see Kennedy in a story, your creative tank is empty. So, real quick on a side tangent, by that logic, it's implied that the main character you play as in Call of Duty Black Ops killed Kennedy. It's also implied that Magneto in X-Men Days of Future Past, in the past, killed Kennedy, because he's the one that was responsible for the alleged magic bullets theory. Does that mean, playing devil's advocate, that those stories ran out of ideas? I mean, we know the answer to that now, but still.
Wasn't there something about that? I'm thinking there was something also in that about Watchmen in the past, but I guess not.
Oh, I mean, yeah, with the Watchmen, yeah, there was. I
Okay,
mean
I
that
was
the
right. I
that the
thought so,
comedian
yeah.
was involved somehow, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
With that.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes, I
and
thought
again,
so. Yeah.
and again, you're talking about the '80s, and that mystique of Kennedy was still there. Well, my generation, as Generation X, was starting to slide away from that, and now as you go into Gen Z, millennials, and all that, it's like, yeah, oh, what about this Kennedy? And Action Com is absolutely right. When you see a Kennedy story, your creative tank is empty. It's the same thing with Jack the Ripper when they keep on wanting to bring Jack the Ripper
Oh
left
my
and right.
God.
I
Wolf,
mean, about the
freaking Wolf
best
the Fold.
and the best iteration of Jack the Ripper in modern day, that was Time After Time with Malcolm McDowell, David Warner. Beautiful film.
Phil
If you haven't seen
McCracken,
it, go watch it.
I thought you went to bed. He says, sorry, total disagree with comments about JFK. People overhyped him.
Oh boy. You know what, Phil? Go to bed. Phil, go to sleep. Take your teddy bear, something that looks like Grace Jones, whatever. Go to sleep. It's all right.
Yes. And make sure to
Here,
kiss
I'll
your
help you guys.
and make sure to
Getting
kiss your
sleepy.
Picard picture goodnight, Phil.
You're
Get your little
getting
sippy cup and go to
sleepy.
bed.
Watch the watch. You're getting sleepy.
And don't forget and Cash will agree with me on this one. Get your floaties.
So get your floaties and get your galoshes and get your rowboat. There's a storm coming, Phil. There's a storm coming.
All right, so the whole episode though is pretty much the card. Not only is it trying to make sense of why a Starfleet captain would attack the Cardassians, but it's also about exploring the current relationship between the Cardassians and the Federation. Where as things stand right now, they're willing to work with each other, but they certainly do not trust each other.
Right.
And we also, by the way, learn a little bit more about Chief O'Brien's life. Not just was he there serving under Captain Maxwell, but he was there for a very brutal attack that, in fact, you could almost call this the Cardassian version of Kittimer, where the Cardassians killed the wife and I believe child of Captain Maxwell in this brutal attack. And of course, O'Brien was there too. And they speculate multiple times throughout the episode. Perhaps it's revenge then, where Captain Maxwell's coming from to want to cause such wanton death and destruction. At the same time, it's made very clear that O'Brien doesn't really like Cardassians. In fact, we see an encounter between him and the two Cardassians that came over with the captain. One of them's like, hey, do you mind if we join you in your bar? And O'Brien kind of snaps at him saying, listen, if I'm ordered to tell you whatever it is I need to tell you, I'll do it. But who I choose to hang out with in my own time is my business. But later, that he ends up in 10 Forward with one of the Cardassians and tells the story from his point of view, where basically, up until that attack, O'Brien had never killed anyone, but he was forced to out of self-defense. And this is the line that has stuck with me the most. It's not that I hate you, Cardassian. I hate what I've become because of you. And yeah, that line right there, like I would go as far as to say that is probably one of the most deep cutting lines of dialogue in all of Star Trek that we've seen thus far. Like that's up there with Captain Kirk's speech about risk. Wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. This is something you would not have gotten if Roddenberry was fully in control. For one, we're never supposed to see a Starfleet officer, Maxwell, doing what he was doing. Starfleet's supposed to be one big happy fleet, to quote Khan. And when you did have nefarious things happen, like with the first season episode with the bug creatures, everybody in Starfleet was being taken over. They weren't working on their own impulses. Conspiracy. So it wasn't
Yeah.
Starfleet that was doing it; it was the bugs that were doing it. In this case, though, this was a man who obviously is scarred, and Roddenberry didn't want to see this for Starfleet officers. He made it known Starfleet's supposed to, Federation, all that. We're above all this. But if we were going to keep on going with Roddenberry, you wouldn't have this powerful. This is harkening back to the original series. As you were saying about Kirk with Risk, we're seeing vulnerability in the character, and you see the vulnerability in Miles O'Brien in this. What war does to people, and it was in many ways needed. They had the right person to do that with O'Brien, and going forth on that one. And now you also have him kind of conflicted. His old commander or his new commander. Obviously, he respects both men. And how close could he have possibly been to be tempted to side with Maxwell and join on his crusade?
Multiple times, I'm sure.
Yeah, and because it's opening old wounds. When it rains, it pours. The salt's being rubbed in a little bit here, and like Kirk in Star Trek Six, it's like, you want me to make peace with the people that killed my son.
Yeah, I've never liked Captain's Log. I've never liked Klingons, and I never will. I could never forgive them for the death of my boy.
Exactly. Yeah. And Miles O'Brien is the next generation version of that right now.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
And ActionCom brings up a good point. O'Brien was there in the very first episode of TNG. He didn't have the name yet, but he was there. And yeah, you did say that guy is going places. He's going to Deep Space Nine.
It was nice to see that they developed it, because he already had a presence there. What's important about Colm Meaney is he did exactly what the old show did. Instead of trying to establish somebody right away and force you, hey, you have to like all these guys. We have everybody. Star Trek, the original series, was Kirk and Spock, and then Bones came in, and then became more so. Then you had Scotty, which was obviously, but Sulu and Chekhov and Uhura.
I gotta bring up a tweet I shared the other day regarding Scotty. I tagged all of you guys in it, but I'll bring it up again just for the. Where was it?
But while you're doing that, it was a natural organic growth of characters with the original series. It wasn't the big team in the original series. It evolved into that. Now you had a character was naturally evolving in Star Trek, The Next Generation, and probably the strongest one because of it.
Yeah. Okay, here it is. So let me share my screen real quick. Since we mentioned Scotty, I shared this the other day. James Doohan appreciation posts. I really didn't have to work with Star Trek. It was a natural. When I opened my mouth, there was Scotty. It's like I tell people, what you see in Scotty is 99% James Doohan and 1% accent. And this was shared, by the way, by his son.
Chris?
Nice.
Absolutely.
Who got to play his father, basically, with the Star Trek Continue series.
And Star Trek Online.
Yep.
ActionCom asks, do you think they should have gave a TOS episode to Lieutenant Kyle?
I would have liked it.
It would.
Yeah.
I would have
background characters.
I would have preferred, before they gave him an episode, though, they gave an episode, because here's the thing. We got plenty of Kirk. We got plenty of Spock. We got a couple episodes of McCoy. We got one episode of Scotty, and technically an episode revolving around Chekhov when we talk about Journey to Eden. I would have liked to see an episode on Uhura.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have. But at that time, it was different storytelling back in that day. So
yes,
it was more of a focus on the main star and the co-star and what became the triumvirate.
Technically, they did in the animated series, which was said it was going to be done in the original series had it gone on further, but yeah, it didn't come up.
Yeah, where the women all were in command of the ship, and I believe Uhura was sitting in the center chair.
Yes, she was.
Well, there was something that was always like in the back of my head when watching the original series. I don't know if a lot of people agree with this, but it was the one thing I did like from the JJ trilogy was Spock and Uhura being a thing. But I didn't like the way that they did it. It could have been a bit smarter, but I don't know. Those two together were always kind of funny because I guess that episode where Uhura was singing and then Spock joined in with his Vulcan instrument was kind of funny. I like the dynamic between the two.
It's funny, man. I've said this before, like the old Star Trek movies, a lot of them you remember things even right now. I can remember stuff right now, but with JJ's Star Trek, even if I'm like, oh, I like this, and then I'm like, I don't watch it again.
Yeah.
The flair is
forget about it.
I saw the one. I saw 2009 one time. I'm going, I can't say the word on here. But
get your bleep ready, Brandon.
Real quick, stovepipe. I think you've
that word and this. So yeah, this is just not my nice take. That's
right.
I'll say it.
Stovepipe, I think you've had a few too many to drink tonight. I'm not going to highlight any of those chats, but I can see them. And yeah, I go to bed, Stovepipe. I'm not going to ban you, but I'm just going to say I think you should go to bed.
I'll do it again. You're getting sleepy. You're getting sleepy.
And hey, if that doesn't work, I have some melatonin gummies here for you.
Ooh.
I don't even know if Stovepipe is serious, but anyways, let's continue.
All right. I mean, he said, "Go ahead and ban me. I'm drunk and I don't care." I'm not going to ban you, but I can tell.
I think I'm first on the ban list.
Well, since you said so.
Gentlemen, I'd love to stick around, but I do have a few things I got to do before I call it a night. So I'd give this episode a 4 to 4.5, right in that range. It's a good one. It sets the tone for the Cardassians. Fortunately, this is not the final end product for them. So
good.
And, hooray!
And real quick, your thoughts and final score on the Lost. Not the Lost, Devils 2. Sorry.
No, I would give it a 2.5. Watch it once and then don't watch it again because it's dumb.
One and done.
Fair enough.
And then watch.
All right, guys.
Lost.
Take care, everybody. We'll see y'all later.
Hey, take care, Brandon.
All right, talk to you later, man.
All right. So continuing on, eventually they rendezvous with the Phoenix, and Picard has a meeting with Captain Maxwell, and Picard basically tries to get him to stand down with dignity and go back to Starbase to answer for what he's done. And it took a lot of convincing to even get him that far, but he's eventually willing, although he claims that what he was attacking wasn't actually innocent scientific research outposts, nor innocent supply ships. That basically the Klingons are arming themselves. Not the Klingons, the Cardassians are arming themselves again. And they're preparing for yet another war. That outpost is actually a deployment outposts where they could, from there, send themselves out into 3 different Federation sectors. And he at one point instructs Picard to go aboard a certain Cardassian ship and say, "You'll see the proof for yourself," which of course Picard refuses. And this is where we see O'Brien come up with a plan. He's like, "Listen, Captain, I know him. Let me talk to him." And he figures out that even though the Phoenix has its shields up, there's like there's 50th of a second where where he could theoretically beam through. So he does that, and he is able to where he is able to beam through, and he goes aboard, and this is where we see Captain Maxwell's true pain, that unfortunately the Cardassians were right. He was doing this out of revenge because he learned. In fact, Picard even says it. When you live with hate for long enough, eventually you become so used to hate that you can't imagine feeling any other way. And that's exactly what happened with Captain Maxwell.
See, Phil, Picard can make some good quotes.
Absolutely. And so he talks with O'Brien, and he basically lets his pain out. Listen, I just can't forgive them for what happened to my wife and kids. Again, going back to the quote I shared earlier from Kirk, I will never like Klingons. I could never forgive them for the death of my son. Imagine if Kirk had let that hate fester even more than he actually did in Star Trek VI. He would have he could have probably done some serious like atrocities against the Klingons. And there would likely never be peace between the Klingons and the Federation like there is in the Next Generation. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, you have definitely the two different paths on this. This is kind of Star Trek's version of the Cuban Missile Crisis, you might say. And, he's right, but what do you do about it? If we do something more about it, we can start a war, but we can at least, we know what you're up to now, what you want to do. So the cat's out of the bag. As for Action Com saying about Maxwell being more, being menacing, it shows you don't have to be menacing. You just have to have the hurt and the obsession behind it.
Yes.
That's what makes it even better that it's not a menacing person. You can understand, you can sympathize. You could almost be tempted to join alongside of him because you can see there is sincerity in there. It's just not the right way.
Yeah, he's not like a villain depicted just to be evil just cause, he has his reasons. He has his, If you were to put yourself in his shoes, there's no telling how yourself would act. That's why it's a really good character because it's so complicated.
Action Com says this was Maxwell's Kobayashi Maru, a no-win scenario.
And I like that he said that. That's very on the nose because every captain goes through it. Either they all take the test, but they really face the real scenario.
Stovepipe says it here: you can retain your command, or I can throw you in the brig and tow your ship back in disgrace.
Yes.
Which that ultimately ends up happening because he veers from the course. He is then stripped of his command of the Phoenix. The Phoenix is then in command of its first officer, and Maxwell is confined to quarters aboard the Enterprise.
But it would be hard because you had your family and friends killed by the Kardashians, and then how would you feel in that situation? Like every time.
Wait, hold on, Cash. Did you just say the Kardashians?
I said the Kardashians. Yes, I did.
I was biting my tongue.
That is funny. The Cardis, as people are saying in chat, but no, it's just it's a problem, and I don't know. It's like how you would feel like you would keep. They're always the enemy, and you can't change that. And you had something horrible like that happen in your life, and your friends were killed, or your family was killed by this enemy that you always see as the enemy. And even when Maxwell is explaining to Picard, it's like they're still doing bad things. So it's a mess.
May I throw a real life story in here?
Sure.
That's kind of in that one. My father, he became friends with a Volkswagen dealer. And as he talked with this guy, he was German, and he starts finding out that this man was with Rommel, not only in Africa but in Italy. This man even delivered papers to the Third Reich master himself, Adolf. I mean, he was in the same office delivering papers. He didn't talk to it. He was an adjunct that came and took the messages, but he was right there in the same office. And then one night they were sitting there, and they're drinking schnapps back and forth, and he just unloads. And he starts talking about D-Day, and if only they would have had that, we would have stopped people on there. And in mid tirade, he comes to a stop, and he realizes what he's saying. He looks to my dad. He goes, "I'm so sorry." And my dad sat back and said to him, he says, "Don't be sorry. This was not my war. This was my father's war. I have no vested interest in this. But all I am doing is I'm getting your side of what was happening, how you felt." And that's the thing we have to have on that one. Do we keep on fighting the wars of our father? And even even our fathers, do we keep on fighting those wars after the peace has been made? How are you supposed to keep peace when you have this underlying anger, hate, frustration, and you see another person of another ethnic group as your enemy? And
Yeah.
obviously, Maxwell, that's all he sees here, and even to a point, so does O'Brien.
All right, so real quick, hello Black Dragon. I'm about to highlight your chat in just a moment. ActionCom says, "What do you think of Picard giving the Cardis the Phoenix prefix codes?" And then Black Dragon responds, "Traitor. It's the same thing as giving the Russians the nuclear football."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think the reason that Picard did it is because he was left with no other choice. Yes, I can see your point of view on that, Black Dragon. You don't ever give up the secrets of your technology to even someone that used to be your enemy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But who's the bigger threat? The Cardassians or Maxwell in that immediate moment? But here's the twist. The episode ends with a conversation between Picard and the Cardassian captain where Picard reveals Maxwell was right about how the Cardassians in general had been arming themselves.
Yeah.
And we get another equally good conversation here where the captain's like, "Well, why didn't you beam aboard that ship then to go and confirm what you're saying?" And Picard's
Yeah.
like, "In the interest of peace. If I had done that, we wouldn't be having this conversation now. But let me make myself clear. We are watching you."
Yeah, I like that too, because he wasn't wrong about their corruptness. He just took it to an extent where you wouldn't do that. I guess you could say diplomatically, but he went ahead and committed, war crimes, and you could say, and it's not right to, infiltrate or destroy a government that's technically a part of your federation. If it's a war and that's a different story, but technically the Federation and the Cardassians, they're not at war, so that's why he's wrong in taking those measures. But he wasn't wrong about the Cardassians as a whole. He knows how they think. He knows probably most than what Starfleet knows about the Cardassians. That's the thing.
I could see that.
Well, it was said before about the no-win situation. This was a no-win situation for everybody, not just Maxwell. I mean, the Cardassians lost. It was a no-win situation for them because they were found out. Of course, for the Picard and gang, it was a loss because there's nothing they can really do about it except all we can do is watch you now. We know that there's things that need to be done, but we can't do anything about it. We can't risk that right now. Everybody in this was in a no-win situation, and Action Com was right. It's a test of character, and sometimes you have to take that road that you just don't like because it, at that time, is the best way to go about it. because
Yeah.
if he did the quote unquote right thing, it'd have the wrong repercussions.
Mm-hmm. Basically it's damage control on a large scale.
Mm-hmm. For everybody involved.
And Stovepipe says, in a way, this is the epitome of Trek: The Next Generation. There's no winners, no losers, just politics. You can feel for Maxwell or Picard. Oh, absolutely. Like we just said, objectively, what Maxwell did was wrong, but his reasoning behind it, you can still sympathize with. And here's the thing. This is yet more proof of what Robert Meyer Burnett always says about Star Trek at its best, that there are no out-and-out villains, just antagonists.
Mm-hmm.
Except the Borg.
Except the Borg. Yeah. All right, so final scores. I'm gonna kick this one off, and I'm going 5 out of 5 on this one. Perfect score. Spock?
Yeah, 5 out of 5.
Cash?
4.5 out of 5. It's a great
Baron?
episode.
I'll go 5.
Okay. Captain Fandom Nerd?
4.5.
Okay, and Mike?
Masterpiece.
Nice.
Wow, I got to get that. And of course, not only did of course, talk about how to bring in a new villain the right way, which they wanted to do with the Ferengi, and look what happened to them.
Oh,
it was absolutely horrible.
okay.
But you also,
I gotta pull up that clip. Where is it?
Where did my little clip go? Oh,
all right.
where can
This is likely going to get us copyright claim, but I have to do it. Skip ahead a little bit.
Preparing to ambush us. It will be our word against theirs. And who is more trustworthy, Mordock? It looks like gold. Tastes like gold.
It is gold.
All right, that's enough of that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Spock.
What a ridiculous way.
Yeah, but I did have that clip, but I got rid of it because I was barely using it. So thank you for filling in that.
and besides them making a motion picture style-esque ship with the Constellation, this was our first real taste of a original Star Trek Next Generation ship. Brand
the Nebula class.
The Nebula class. I mean, other than the Kit Bash destroyed models that we saw in Best of Both Worlds, which I really don't count because they're just background filler. But now we finally saw a brand new ship that would be the equivalent of the Enterprise era, the Next Generation era, Starship. And it was also kind of a little bit on the Miranda class reliance. So that's a little apropos.
I mean, the Nebula class itself is pretty much a kick bash. It has parts of the Galaxy class, except you don't have the neck.
Yeah.
All right, let's get this one over with. Devil's due. All right, so this one's going to be a short one.
All right, great talk.
All right, so this episode centers around the Enterprise having to solve, I guess you could almost say, contract negotiations between this one race, Ventax 2, this planet, and a evil goddess, we'll call her, named Ardra. And here she is. Oh wait, that's the wrong picture.
Oh, hello there.
There is no Ardra. There's only Zool.
I mean, do you see the resemblance?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good.
So, anyways, she basically claims to be the evil spirits of not just this planet's religion, but of every religion. she mentions a whole bunch of other planets, including in the Klingon belief system. She claims that she is Feklar. Yes. Basically, Mike, as our resident Klingon expert, would you like to explain what that is?
Yes, please.
Feklar is the Klingon devil. Plain and simple. The Klingon devil.
Yep.
But Klingons have no devil.
Yeah. ActionCom says she doesn't look like Amber Heard. I'm just gonna flash this up on screen real quick. Just because. I'm gonna delete it though because it's old news now.
Ah.
So yeah. Continuing on though. Apparently, the people of Ventax 2 made a deal with this Ardra, saying, "I will give you and your planet 1,000 years of peace and prosperity, but at the end of that 1,000 years, you basically become my slaves." ActionCom, by the way, says in the original series they say the Klingons didn't have a devil.
Coming from Starfleet, if that's true, if that's what they said, they wouldn't know. They probably just were speaking colorfully.
Possibly. So, and this Ardra is also capable of many different, at least by appearances, strange things. For example, causing earthquakes to happen on the planet, or zipping in and out of different areas, transforming herself into different things. She actually transforms herself. In fact, I'm going to find a picture. This is basically, in the episode, what Feklar is. And this is, I guess you could say this is a Klingon after an entire lifetime of meth abuse. That is Feklar.
Yes.
We got ourselves some trailer trash Klingons.
You're gonna love. It's personally one of my favorite story arcs in Star Trek Online.
All right.
I don't know if you have seen, because I know the beginning arc of Star Trek Online, if you're playing a Klingon, they do have a Feklar arc, but later down the road during the Gamma Quadrant, where you get towards Deep Space Nine and Odo and everything, there is a cool little tie-in that they do. So it's really cool to learn where these guys actually come from.
And those of you guys that have seen Discovery, which one looks worse, this or Discovery era Klingons?
Discovery era Klingons.
The Discovery orcs. Klingorks.
Yeah. ActionCop says, "I would honestly like to know how evil a Klingon devil would be. Does he ring your doorbell and run?" I could imagine that. I could also imagine he doesn't thank the bus driver in Fortnite matches.
There is no honor in that.
Yes. Call you in the middle of the night to update your car insurance. Write for Kurtzman. Call you about your car's extended warranty.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways,
she sounds hideous. Well, she is a Feklar.
Yeah. But yeah, basically this entity is capable of seemingly godlike powers. But of course, Picard doesn't believe any of it. He thinks that she is basically a con artist. And he works together with Data to try and disprove her. And this leads to different shenanigans, such as her trying to schmooze Picard, get into his pants. And of course, Picard, in the best way that he can, says no. And she also, by the way, because of the way the contract was written, not only claims ownership of the planet, but claims ownership of everything orbiting the planet, including the Enterprise. So, thanks to Data's help, yeah, Stovepipe is right. The point is a lesser man would give in, but a Starfleet officer is skeptical. Yes. And I want to say that this is probably one of the last bits of Gene Roddenberry's influence in, where Gene Roddenberry, as we've said many times on this show, was an outspoken atheist, and perhaps this was the latest of his episodes trying to disprove the idea of a god.
Of
Wouldn't you
God,
guys
yeah.
say?
And take this as you will, but I thought this story could have been a bit more interesting if she wasn't a con artist. I don't know. Because, I mean, you see episodes like Doctor Who, like with David Tennant, where they actually do confront the devil, which was kind of cool. But, I don't know. We never really... closest you could say is the motion picture, but that wasn't really God. But,
No, that was V'ger.
Yeah, but seeing like the devil or something evil, like a really evil entity, would have been interesting.
Yeah. So it all comes down to having to settle this dispute in arbitration. So Data is chosen to be the arbitrator because Data is incapable of handling this case in anything but an unbiased manner. Picard, of course, is handling the side that she is a fraud and the people of Ventax 2 achieved their peace on their own, and of course, she's advocating for herself and her abilities. Eventually, though, thanks to the help of Geordi, Picard is able to pinpoint where exactly her powers are coming from. They're coming from a ship that's cloaked in orbit. That ship is then commandeered by the crew of the Enterprise, and Picard temporarily harnesses her power.
It's a fake.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Yeah, okay. I think I withdraw my claim on this planet, and I'm just gonna go." But of course, she's blocked out and is arrested. So that's pretty much the episode. Oh, actually, though, the episode does begin in a very interesting way, where we see Data again taking acting lessons from Picard. This time, he is playing the role of Ebenezer Scrooge, which, fun fact, Patrick Stewart himself has played the role of Ebenezer Scrooge multiple times, both on stage and once in a 1999 movie version of A Christmas Carol. In fact, I want to say that version is probably my second favorite after the Jim Carrey version.
Yeah.
Was it 99? Was it that late? I thought it was earlier that he did the movie.
Let me double check.
But yeah, he used to do that every year in LA for the longest time. Christmas Carol. I think they were kind of tying that in because he was doing that all the time.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Yeah, he used to do it as a one-man show.
It was 99.
It was 99. Wow.
I'm looking at IMDb now.
Time starts.
I like what Action Com brought up. What do you think?
Which one?
Ardar's plan was
take charge, loot the planet, then leave the planet behind. Yeah. Essentially.
And he said, like, what do you think Ardar's sorry, I can't say her name. Ardar's plan was?
Ardra,
yeah.
Yeah.
Zool.
Yeah, it's
Zool.
I mean, again, just look at the resemblance. And obviously, Ghostbusters came out before this, so I'm sure there was some influence there.
As for her plan, did we really see her? Did we see Ardra kill anybody in this episode?
No.
Nope.
So
the
fact that the rumor like they had before she was awakened or whatever, that they said she will smite us or she will basically she's gonna, I forget what they said, but that she's gonna grant them peace and everything because they've been serving her, but she's also very powerful and could smite you or something. But she never proved any of that. As for her plan, probably to just make them a labor force or something. Who knows?
ActionCom says Zool was a demigod, as was Vince Clortho. I am the keymaster, you the gatekeeper. The point is, magicians can fool people. Absolutely. Maybe we can fool you. Yeah, that is 100%. In fact, I'll even actually no. I was gonna quote another thing, but you know how Bilbo doesn't want to give up the ring, and Gandalf's like, Bilbo Baggins, do not take me for some conjurer of cheap tricks. Definition of conjurer of cheap tricks: this lady.
Yeah.
So
how do I rule people without arms of force? Well, let's do it this way, psychological. Let's play on fear. Let's come in and give them the old show, and they'll be following me. You know.
Yep.
So all of that said, I'm giving this one. Don't quote Lord. I'm going to quote whatever I want to, Stovepipe. In fact, give me something memorable. I might quote you.
Oh.
Fly, you fools.
Justice for Sigourney Weaver.
Oh my god. You still didn't go to bed yet, did you, Philly?
I love Sigourney Weaver.
My watch doesn't work. I'm sorry.
Sigourney Weaver is a great actress.
So
she is.
Final rankings for this one. I'm going 2.5 out of 5.
He's generous.
I don't know. I'll be generous. 3.5. I didn't. Yeah.
Wow.
Cash.
Wow.
2.5 out of 5, I guess.
Baron.
1.5. I mean, this was absolutely ridiculous. They want to do Devil and Daniel Webster. They gave us Danny and the basically Danny Wikipedia going against Imp. Imp versus Danny in Wikipedia.
Didn't this also give you a Bedazzled feel, Baron? You've seen Bedazzled, right?
You know what? Honestly, I have not seen Bedazzled. I'm gonna have to watch that now.
I think honestly the reason I give this one such an easy time. I mean, I agree with all of you. Like, this is the weakest out of this 3. But it's the first time we ever see a Feklar or Fakiri in live action. You know, it's like, and it looked awesome. That's the only thing, because I'm a huge like Mike, love Klingons and everything about them. So like that was just one of the coolest things they did. Like all the prosthetics, because now like that would all be CGI and look like crap.
Yeah.
All right then. And Mike and sorry, Captain Fandom Nerd, your ranking.
1.
He's meaner than me.
1. Okay, fair enough. Mike?
Well, I'm going to say 1, but if I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say -1.
Really? Wow.
That
is harsh.
Wow, makes me sound generous.
Yeah,
All right,
you are very
so
generous, Captain.
Mike has spoken. -1 out of 5. Okay.
Wow.
All right. Well, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight. Because we only covered 3 this week, we're going to cover 7 next week. The 2 that we didn't cover.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Phil, you're killing me.
Oh boy.
Phil, you need to go to bed, and don't forget to kiss your picture of Picard goodnight. We all know that you have a life-size cutout of Picard in
I'm
your
sure
bedroom.
he does. I'm
Wait,
sure.
he has a picture of Picard at his bedside?
Right next to your
pillow
Star
covers.
Blazers poster.
I heard Picard or Picard. Picard.
I'm heard. Phil likes to cry in his mirror and ask it the question.
Ask the question: what does God need with a starship? Again,
No,
everyone, for anyone that's watching this for the first time, these are jokes. Phil knows these are jokes. He's okay with
Or
it.
does he? No, but I think he cries in the mirror and asks, "Why do people not hate Destroyer, Conan the Destroyer? It's such a good film."
Oh, he doesn't say it like that. He says, why,
No,
why?
he does not say why. That's somebody else. Come on.
I know, but he took that joke and started running
Trying to
with it.
steal it.
Why did Cash Money take Master Richmond's goatee?
How do you know?
Dun, dun, dun.
Stovepipe says, try and have some female chromosomes. Maybe.
I would love to see some.
If I could meet a lady that's into Star Trek and would love to be on this conversation, absolutely. And yes,
And
Black
I have to
Dragon,
behave.
go-
Come on, Paul. I don't want to have to behave.
You
If she
Pacific,
would fit
compared
in
to your own
here,
channel, you behave already on mine.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Has Star Trek ever been popular with the women? Maybe some.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
Black
Spock.
Dragon
I
says
haven't
go
really
watch.
There's some cool women out there.
Oh
Black
yeah.
Dragon says go
I'm
watch
sure
Top
we
Gun.
have some
Yes,
in our community. So.
I'm going to watch Top Gun at some point this week. It's not going to be Wednesday or tomorrow because tomorrow's pretty much booked solid for me. But I will be watching that this week, and
What is
there will be a review of it coming.
Dude.
See it twice.
Stovepipe.
That's my recommendation. See it twice.
Okay, and Stovepipe, I am not highlighting that. As you've already said you're drunk, I've already told you I think you've had enough. All right, so we're going to go ahead and shut it down for the night. So anything that anyone wants to plug before we get out of here?
Actually, yes. I have Pop Talk tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the evening, Eastern Time. And then right at midnight Eastern, I will be giving my live reaction and then a short review of the episode Shadow Realms of the Orville. Plus, Saturday at 8 o'clock Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern, to be technical about it, I'm going to have a special episode of Pop Talk where we're going to be talking about pop culture and sports and how they sort of clash together in certain cases. I still have some open spots on the panel, so if anybody wants to be on, you're more than welcome to come on.
Am I already on there?
We will see.
I don't know. I was going to get with you about that. I didn't know what you had planned.
Yeah, Baron, are you actually using Twitter now? Because I think there's some group where people actually talk in there. I don't know. I heard it was
Cash.
Yeah.
Dude.
I'm
Just
kidding.
for that, no,
So-
I won't do it. You have that guy on there. No way.
I'm
All
just
right,
kidding.
so Baron, I know you have something to plug, something involving both of us.
You're gonna be on the Primetime Kings?
No, but you did invite me
No.
on Baron After Dark tomorrow.
Actually, that I did. So I just have a little bit of fun there. So, good old Captain Paul there is going to be joining me tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on my channel, Baron After Dark, and we'll sit down. I'm sure we'll talk Star Trek, Star Wars, and everything in between. Guitars. What as everybody knows, when you go on this show, it's free for all. Whatever you want to talk about, and there we go. So
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to it.
Although I know you were joking, but I would like to be on the Primetime Kings though at some point.
Oh, I'll talk to the guys.
Yeah, man, that would be cool.
I'll talk to the guys. Yeah,
Okay.
more than happy to.
Okay.
And what's great about that is I found that so many of us run around in circles, but a lot of us sometimes don't know the other people we hang around with. It's like you bring up somebody, it's like, oh, this person's like, well, I don't know about that. So it makes that network even more interesting and a little bit wider. So that's
Okay.
just fun.
Spock, anything you got coming up?
Yeah, so Defense of Pavo event happening on Star Trek Online. I streamed it today. Some new stuff came out, new armor. They also released a new ship, Vulcan ship, but unfortunately it's from Lower Decks. So, but it had some good qualities for a science ship, if that's what you guys are making. I'm gonna be streaming it again this Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. So come and stop by, and I'll be joining Mike and Nerporial review discussion of Shadow Realms episode 2 of the Orville season 3. So stick around.
Nice.
Okay. Captain Fandom Nerd, anything you got coming up?
No, not right away.
Okay. And Cash, what's new on Phantom Hooligans?
Just working on some other stuff. Hopefully we'll have some either live streams this week. If not, I'll make some videos. So
Stream
there's
PlayStation
All right.
games.
yes, there's a possibility that my friend and I may, because Miss Marvel is coming up this week. Oh boy, and he likes to try these Marvel
Whoop.
shows. So
Whoop-de-doo.
I know, whoop-de-doo, exactly. So, but it'll be something added to be made fun of, I'm sure. So that's always a plus.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me an idea for a new clip to make.
Uh-oh.
Me saying whoop-de-doo like that?
From Austin Powers. Whoop-de-doo, Basil.
Whoop.
Send it to me when you get it.
Oh.
All right, guys. Well, things coming up for us. I think we don't do anything Thursday. Of course, I tried to start up Thursday Who with my friend Moss Pierce from the Citadel Radio Show. That is on hiatus until he's able to move to England. So I think Thursdays I'm going to start doing a regular weekly karaoke stream.
Oh.
If y'all have been paying attention, especially to the VacTube, I've become somewhat of a regular on there, and you've seen that I do music here on this channel also, and I'm going to start making that a weekly stream. It may not stay on Thursdays, it may move to a different night, but I am going to start doing that. And yeah, if you guys happen to sing and you want to come on here and sing something, you will be absolutely welcome to.
Count me in.
I could sing, but I don't think it's going to be anything anybody wants to hear.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I can clear a house like
I'll
you
take
can't
you up
believe.
on that, though, Paul.
All right,
been singing
and I know for a fact that Cash sings.
I don't know how
Oh.
to sing. I do, but that's
Phil, go to bed.
Mm.
Go to bed, Phil. John Denver is country.
He is considered country, Phil. Whatever you want to believe in your little brain. So.
All right,
Yeah.
guys. Well, that's going to do it for us tonight. Tim's Talk says, I've been called the songbird of our generation. Absolutely, man. If you are able to sing and you want to come on here, yeah. Here's what I would say to anyone that would be looking. Go watch the VacTube karaoke streams. That'll be kind of how it works with me. I know people have told me that what I do isn't exactly karaoke because I actually play an instrument. But that's just how I prefer to do it.
Yeah. Phil, stop
That's
lying
because
to
you're-
yourself. You just turned 10. What are you talking about?
And
Yeah.
you
And
get to
again,
show off,
YouTube,
Paul.
I will say this every single time just to cover my butt. YouTube, these are jokes. We are not actually abusing someone. Trust me. All right, so that's going to do it for us tonight. Oh my God, Baron. All right. So that's gonna do it for us. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. And just remember, everyone, the Force is family. I'm gonna have to come up with a new tagline though for the Trek part of it, because we don't have Wesley anymore, and I can't exactly say "Shut up, Wesley" if he's not here. So we'll figure something else out.